Now, this is part two of the bond financing case. I was a little bit rudely interrupted, and it was taking a little bit longer, and this is a more advanced case. And I've decided there's something seriously wrong with me because I don't mind doing this. It's compared to the other sucker work I have. This is kind of relaxing. Can you believe what's wrong with me? So now we have these three construction financings, and the most weird thing here is that the senior bonds clearly say the senior bonds are issued at financial close. I really don't understand why you wouldn't make your construction loan first and then take out your construction loan with the bonds at the commercial operation date. But in thinking about this, number one, they put some interest on the bonds, and number two, they seem to make you want to have a cash flow waterfall with some min and max, and they seem to want to kind of test you on this, because if you issue these bonds up front, and if you issue these right at the financial close date, notice that when I had to reopen this file, I better save this as bond financing case one. Don't forget to save your file. God damn it, that's something I would do. Forget to save the file and then in the middle of the stupid test. Oh shit. Okay, now where was I? They want to make you make a cash flow waterfall, because if you're going to issue this, and this is of course way too much. Let's make this one 500, a million at first. Okay, did I make that? Hang on. We have 1.2 billion. Well, this better be a little, instead of 500,000, we're doing this in pure dollars. Nothing. If they give you shit for that, tell them to go to hell. And then maybe, let's make this 700,000. Now, what we're going to eventually do is we're going to figure out what these two things should be. I'm so tempted to put a spinner box and change this, or perhaps that when we try to do our little optimization, we have to make this commitment such that this gets paid off. So there has to be a goal seek that this is equal to zero, and we have to size our bond so that we can just take this maximum amount. Now, it does say maximum, and if you really wanted to go further, you could look at what the DSCR is and all that and see the minimum. The other thing that's going to happen, we're going to repay the bond. I'm not going to do it here, but when they have an annuity of every 6 months, we'll take this. No, I'm going to do it right now. We'll put the annuity. Screw that. I'll put right here the annuity repayment. So be careful with this a little bit. Uh, Now, this is really kind of a little more advanced. I would totally freak out. There are going to be 18 periods, and so let's put 18 periods in here, and then we'll make a little table, and then we're going to count the semi-annual periods. I'm sure there are other ways to do this. Okay, please don't listen to everything I have to say, and then we'll put a PMT, and we'll take, for the payment, we're going to take the interest rate, which it happens to be 2%, but let's put 2% plus 2%. Don't get fancy with this whole business of, compounding and all that. It's just a simple interest rate. And they didn't say to do anything more special. issue was the 360, and then we do this over 18 periods, and then I'm going to put a minus on the bond amount. Now that of course will change, and that's our let's press Shift Control 1, and that's our annuity payment. And let's okay, how about this? Let's make this wider. Go to 18, and could make it even wider for the rest of it, make it consistent. But for now, and I can't do this Alt H, screw whatever. And then we'll just drag that. Okay, nothing fancy this time. And then that's our payment. And then if we put our balance, we'll put an opening balance, and then less the repayment and the closing balance. So this is there's a lot here to really do this correctly, and it's kind of shocking that they would really expect this. They the only thing I can think of this is for a little bit more of an experienced person, because we'll start with the closing balance, and then okay, oh shit, and then remember, I'm pretending you're not allowed to use any of the wonderful tools like generic macros that you don't give a crap about. And then the repayment is the total repayment minus the interest, which we don't have, and the closing balance is the difference, and the opening balance times the repayment is the interest. And then you can copy this across and make absolutely sure that shoot. And I'm not going to this time, when I make mistakes, I'm not going to kind of cheat. What did I do wrong? And the thing I did wrong clearly was use annual interest rate amongst other problems. Okay, so let's fix that. And maybe this was kind of a right thing to do. So we take this one, and since they said it's payment every semi-annual period, you divide by 2, and then you, yeah, it's 0. Okay, that's not that exciting. Okay, and then we can use a lookup function and count how many semi-annual periods, and it's really, I submit to you that it's more painful to make a monthly model where we have to plot the interest payments and the repayments on a semi-annual basis. So we're going to have to do that. And the other thing that I started to say is we're going to have to commute interest during construction, but we're going to have to get a cash flow waterfall, because when you issue this stupid bond, and that's why when my friend Jose said, what's the difference? Well, the biggest difference in bonds is that they're a fixed amount, just like this example has. Why you'd issue them at first would be a horribly inefficient thing to do. And you should say that, because you're having cash on the balance sheet, because in the very first year, that was what I was starting to say, in the first year our capex are only 22 million, and then they go up. And why don't you get a little bit fancy here? Where should we put it? Maybe we'll put it here. Why don't you get a little bit fancy and show them you can do this kind of shit? Maybe that you'll get taken off. Maybe they'll give you a bad mark for that, because you waste time with stuff like this. But we can kind of see what our S curve looks like. Why they had this S curve like this, who knows? Interesting. Okay, and so now let's and we're going to have finally, I'm going to try to explain, we're going to have a cash flow waterfall. We issue 500 of debt, we only need 200. We're going to have a big cash balance. That's why it's so horribly inefficient. Maybe we have a couple of big balances here, and then eventually we're going to run out of this cash balance. We're going to get some equity infusion, and we have to decide whether we really call this equity or reduction in the CapEx, it doesn't really matter, especially for this example. And it doesn't matter. The only thing it matters for is how we express the debt to capital ratio, which they didn't even ask you to do. I'm going to call it equity because I think in this case, if we just think through things, this equity is that the government of Belarus is going to own our Stormy's project later, and we should. It's like they're putting equity to get the future value of the project. If they were just giving a grant, I don't know. You know, if in the U.S. they have this investment tax credit stuff, that's kind of you put that, you don't call that equity, but you put that on a kind of as a funky liability, a future, you know, God knows what. If you amortize it, but you don't do that in project finance anyway. And what I'm going to do is put a summary, sources, and, and and uses. Now I think what we do is then we put the capex, and we don't really need this. I can't believe that I really get interested in this thing. Let's put it over here. Let's put this. We got the sum of this capex up here, but that's not the only money we have to spend. We also have to spend IDC. Let's just call it interest during construction. We don't know that yet. Now, normally there would be a circular reference. And we also want to put our upfront fees. And maybe you'd want to put the upfront fees on both separately for both the bond fees. Let's do that. Bond, you know, maybe they'll give you an extra little score. And the upfront fees for the credit. What did we call it? Commercial loan facility. Okay, and then we'll have commitment fees for the commercial loan facility. Okay, and I guess what they're doing for Jose, and they don't have a debt service reserve account, thank God. And I think we'll just barely get away if we force the amount of the debt in here. We're going to get away with no no circular reference. Okay, I was about to write no circular reference. Total uses. Okay, and this is absolutely not completely necessary in this case. For me, in just about every other case I've done recently, it would be necessary, and it certainly doesn't hurt. And then we'll put after that, we'll put sorry, I'm putting my normal kind of Shift Control E from my generic macros in here as if you give a crap about that. Okay, and then we'll put, okay, and maybe, can we move this over? No. This is our uses. Now, and then we'll put the sources. Now, you notice that they said all of the interest is payable. They didn't say anything is payment in kind or capitalized. And so we can put our, and this will not show up. It's commercial loan facility. At the end, this better be paid off because this is just over the construction period. And that we'll have a repayment, we'll have a source and a repayment. So you could almost put the repayment up here. And then we'll have our bond financing. And then below that, we'll have before we put the equity, we'll put the grant. I'll call it grant. And maybe here, Control D and Control D, we don't call it anything, we just leave it there. And then we'll put our equity financing. And then the confusing thing, the most confusing thing I think in the case really is that 350, because otherwise we have too many. We have to have some constraint. And they didn't tell us we had to have a DSCR constraint. If they would have given us a DSCR constraint, We could have backed into the bond financing to repay the loan and put a minimum equity in. But they didn't tell us that, so we're just going to put the 350 million in. I think that's a little bit unclear, but maybe you disagree. And maybe you disagree with a lot of this. I'd love that. Last time I got a comment, why in the hell didn't you use the, maybe you saw it, why didn't you use Eomont, you horrible person? And so that's that one. Okay, and then so now we can fill in. No, we're not going to fill in some of these. Yes, we are. This is going to be 0. Let's put our bond financing. Let's take it from right here, and then eventually we're going to do hopefully some kind of goal seeks to get this. And we have the total grant financing here. I'm just going to put, well, we have that sum, but it would be better form kind of to do this. And it's not that hard to put a sum calculation in there. And if they give you a little score, I would give you an extra bonus point for doing it. So now we get 2 bond financings. And then I got it. And then the equity financing, okay, let's put it there. Okay. And that they gave you a bunch of timing, so we sum all of this, and let's include this top one just in case. And when we do that, we get too much. We get too much money, but don't forget we don't have the construction financing in here yet. So we've got to back into this bond financing, and we got to repay this, and we got to pay all the fees and the construction, and we're going to have some cash surplus at the beginning, and we want to make sure that there's no cash surplus. I guess we could put our surplus cash at COD, and that's going to be nothing. That's kind of silly to put there, but there will be some possibility. So once we have that one, then we work through the I'll call it construction financing, which is normally a separate sheet. And I'm tempted to kind of put all of this financing in a separate sheet, but I think that might be a little much. So let's go and get our CapEx first. And so all we're doing is taking those same shift control right arrow control R. Don't worry about the zeros at the end, okay, because they set it to do monthly. And of course, this is where the circular references normally arise. And in this case, we're not going to have any. And then let's call this total funding needs. Now, of course, you might call it something else. I got this years ago when I stole somebody's model and started looking at it. And most of the stuff I do is just comes just straight from stealing, no place else. And you put alternate equal, and you control R, and then you put the little thing in. Okay, so that's our we're going to see how we fund this. And then to get the funding needs, I'm talking to myself. I'm not sure how we're going to kind of put it. Then we're going to take this funding needs and let's put the bond financing. Now you could, if you got really fancy, put a little bond financing switch, but it's going to be at COD. And it might be good over here, at minimum, to put the bond financing here. Now, this is just style. A lot of this stuff is style. There's no right answer. I don't start trying to put the interest on the bond or anything else. Whoops. I'm going to also put the issue date, which was the financial close date. Okay, so I tend to put up here, we'll put, I call this driver 1, but that's just me. Nobody else does that, so don't think that's a necessarily good thing to do. And you can go to these classes and they'll tell you, oh, put this in a different column and all that shit. You know, put this in a row, this in a row. Oh, fuck. I'm sorry. Sorry about the swearing. Then you put this one equal to that one, and then you multiply it by this one. Okay, not that big a deal. Oh, God, you know, you really should learn how to format this much more quickly than I did. Okay. Oh, and that's what I'm sure you're good at. Okay. And then we have the bond financing. And then if we now the question is, we're going to run out of this bond financing, and maybe uh, uh, what we need to do, and I'm just thinking through this, we'll put our opening uh, cash balance. And then up here, let me see if this will really work. And then we'll put, after we have the opening and balance, we'll add the bond financing, put our grants in there. Okay. And then eventually we'll have, we'll see how much balance we have left, and then put the, and I'm absolutely sure that I'm going to change this in a minute. So instead of talking it through and trying to explain something, I'm going to probably change that. After we put this balance in here, then we put we need, that's how much we get, and then we put less funding needs. Okay, something like this, and then we'll get our closing balance. So let's just do this. Now I'm sure, so the opening balance is going to equal the prior year closing balance, and I haven't not done this, I think, for something like 20 years. Last time I remember there was a Preto Suwata case or something, and we put this, and if you want, I'm going to put it in as a positive. If you want to put it in as a negative, they'll probably like it better. And that, but I just can't do that. So we put the opening balance. We get this into our pockets. We get this into our pockets, and then we got to take this and pay for that. And oh my God, do I gotta come up with something better for that? And then, so that's how much. Now, what happened is we got that financing. Oh, shoot with the stupid. Oh, God. Uh, uh, don't give me a minus for this, okay? And then we 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 see we have this extra cash balance that goes negative, and then it goes negative here, and as it the negative amount has to be funded by something, and I guess down here, let's just try this. Let's also put the equity commitment. Okay, and again, I don't know if this is right or not, frankly. And the equity commitment, they say that equity commitment, they told us that equity commitment date. Okay, and we'll put this in this one, and we'll put this at E date of the commercial operation. And remember, we're going to do that just the date before. And Shift Control 3 we can use. And what we have to do is figure out the bond size so that this is just negative. That's kind of one thing we can do. Now, when we do that, let's see what happens. And it turns out, I think this might work, but let me not be too positive. And let's put this date in. So we've got some of these things. We know we're going to have to do something like this. If I set this cash balance up kind of incorrectly, that might be a different story. Uh, okay, and when we do that one, don't forget to add it in. Maybe they'll look at the formulas here and even criticize if you don't put them all in right. Okay, whoops. Okay, so oh come on, did I do this right? Where's the equity funding? What's going on here? There's no equity funding in the month in 1 March of 24. And why is that? Because I didn't press the F4 key. Okay. So now what we have is we have negative funding needs for sure. And when this cash balance goes to be negative, then we're going to have to borrow money on that commercial loan facility, and then we got to repay that commercial loan facility right in this period. And this grant, what does it say about that grant? Let's just see. Hi, Jose. Where's the grant? Upon completion of will provide upon completion. Do you think that's at COD or the month before COD? You know, we've got a little bit of a problem because I think we better put this grant in at you know it's a little bit unclear, and this would just make so much more sense if this payment for our friends in Belarus, if this was e-date of this minus 1 month. So if this occurs right there, that gives us a touch higher IRR. So all the action is happening in this period right before COD. If we don't have that, we almost would need another loan back. And at the end of the day, we've almost got too much here. So let's just kind of do a little bit of an experiment. If the bonds, instead of being 500,000, let's make them 300,000. Okay. Now, I'm kind of stunned that anybody would make a case like this. And now we have too little. So what you can see, we can make a little goal seek, and we can make our cash balance at the very end of the project life just go down to zero. And if you get any of this, and they don't give you the job, they're a bunch of jerks. And so let's just try that. And if you can get comfortable with this one that's a little more complicated, and then let's put a C to make it CLF availability period. Okay, and let's put a flag just to show that we're kind of cool. And we're basically gonna kind of, at the end of the day, basically every single thing of this should be accounted for. Okay, every single kind of input that we took from them. All right, and then we put equal and we take this one and make it greater than or equal to the first one, and we go back to this date and make it less than or equal to, I guess. This is, I should be really careful with this. And then let's multiply that by 1. Shift Control right arrow Control R. So we have our little availability, and don't forget you can kind of put the sum on all of this. Okay, and then we have 24 months. Okay. And then now we're going to put the draws on CLF. Is that the right word? Maybe, but maybe it's not quite the right word. And then we don't have to draw until we hit a negative sign. And then if we draw, oops, this is kind of interesting, the way they structured this. It would be theoretically possible that this grant would be so big that you could repay some of it. So I'm going to put, let's not get too fancy again. This is hard enough. So what you can do is put a maximum, and then you put a minus on this one, or 0. That's how much we have to draw. And it seems that they're trying to get you to do this. And then I suppose if we're a little bit fancier, just to make absolutely sure that we don't draw after, this shouldn't, happen anyway, but just in case, we don't want to draw after the final availability. And then we put repayments. Should we put the repayments here, or should we put the repayments? I don't really know. I don't think it really matters. And then we said the repayments occur right at this date. Okay, now we haven't put any interest in yet at all. We've just been working through this, and we've left blanks for the IDC, and that's normally what causes the thing. And we can't really do that because we got to wait and see how big our balance is. Okay, so maybe I'm going to just leave that for now. We're going to move it. And then now what we do then is we put our debt balances and repayments. Now this is what I would do, and I would put the bond issue here first. And underneath the bond issue, we'll put the opening balance, and then put less add the draw, just like the other, and put less the repayment. And then we'll put a closing balance. Now, the hardest part about this will be to make a little flag for the semi-annual period. And we kind of did this at the very beginning. We put 4 or 10. We cheated. It's not really a cheating thing at all. And then we'll count that flag. And when we count that flag, we'll be able to put the repayment of the debt in using this schedule. Okay, so once we put that, we'll put the interest, cost, and then really the IDC is just an allocation, and then IDO. My client calls the rest of this IDO. I call it interest expense. Okay, and I think maybe we put the bond issue like that. How's that? Whoops. And then we're not quite finished, because once we have the bond issue, we also have an upfront fee. Now the interest expense, and I almost talk to myself. You see, I have no idea what I'm doing, what it's gonna look like, and I'm probably gonna change a whole bunch of stuff. Okay. Uh, uh, and but I would lay out the model before you just start typing in the numbers. The numbers are just the easy part. The numbers are the easy part. The rest of it's the hard part. And if we wanted to get really fancy, and it's probably better, we'll put the upfront fee at the bond issue date. Okay, we almost need three things here. We almost need this, the size of the bond, and then everything else. Okay, and then with all debt, I don't care. Jose's kind of question was a little bit interesting, and you know, you don't get intimidated too much by whether it's a bond issue or a CLF, which is that construction a loan facility. And you notice that now this repayment thing occurs here. I'm not sure if I should leave it here or not, but we have the draw up here. We have the draws, and then this repayment we don't know until we know the opening balance. And this repayment, I'm going to go ahead and put it here again. So we have this date, and then we have the upfront fee, but this time we have an undrawn balance, and we put that in Canadian dollars. And then we have the commitment fee. And this time, now we have to be a little bit careful here because this commitment fee, this is 2%. Let's read what they said about the commitment fee again. There's our Excel prison. They will charge a commitment fee of 25% of the credit spread. And the credit spread is 100 bips. I've never said bips before in my life. Per annum. So the commitment fee is this, but don't forget that that's a per annum amount. Okay, and that commitment fee we have a period, we have a monthly thing. So if I compute that commitment fee, I'll go ahead and do that. Oh, will they give you crap if you divide it by 12? They might, these assholes. Sorry I said that. But we'll have to put how many months in a year. Oh, God, I hate this. Well, let's just, this is remarkable. Did you know? Did you know that there were 12 months in a year? Every year that I've lived, I think, maybe when I was little, there was a different 12 months in a year. Okay, and so we'll take this one divided, take this F4. Did I just press F4? I think so. Divided by this F4. And we put this one in. Okay. And shift control right arrow. We can leave that the same. Okay. And then we put, so this is the percent. And if we want, we could put percent P dot P. And if they give you crap about this being an annual rate, okay, and they can't figure out what you're doing over here, I don't know what to say. If you're supposed to put this is the annual rate, and this another line is the 12 and all that, I can't stand it. Kenny likes to do that. Control D. And let's put this in CAD. Okay, and then we'll have our commitment fee. And you notice what we'll do up here is we'll fill in the IDC and the upfront fees. And now this would normally give you some big circular references, but because all this stuff is fixed, and we're just kind of computing everything with a goal seek, it won't be a problem. And I think they were kind enough at minimum to kind of leave out the circular references. And then we'll make a cash flow waterfall. Now I was thinking, I just took a little walk and I was thinking, oh, we'll start with our EBITDA. Now this does not include the construction period. And if you want to put a balance sheet in and put a cash flow statement together, I'm going to let you do that. And then usually there might be some taxes or there might be some working capital, but that is going to be the CFADS. The EBITDA, in our case, there's no working capital changes. That's going to be the same. And then you can put less the interest expense. And this is really on the bonds because we will have paid back all of this. This is only after the COD, and we'll put less repayment. And we'll put that on the bonds too. And then we'll get our cash, net cash flow, and we're going to give that to dividends to Stormy. Now, this is going to be a little bit hard because these we'll actually have a net cash flow, and what we should do is, oh God, because I hardly ever do it like this. We're going to have a month by month. We'll have an opening balance, and then we'll put. So this cash flow will give us an opening. We'll start with an opening balance. It'll start with 0. We'll put add this period cash flow, add monthly cash flow, and less to, and then we put a closing balance. Okay, and this, remember, this dividend can only be issued in these periods when you have the bond issue. And remember, we're gonna absolutely need a flag. I'm debating whether we should put the flag for the monthly, a semi-annual period when we make the period payment up here or down here. And it's really a surprising case. I don't know what they're expecting here, really, but okay, maybe they're expecting some kind of experience model or something like that. And let's put the opening balance equal the prior year closing balance. Okay, and then let's put the draw in, which is the bond financing. And I guess I'm kind of doing it a little bit backwards because I'm going ahead with all the repayments before we've really resolved all this stuff with the construction loan facility. Why don't we do this? Why don't we take this one and why don't we, I press Control X, and Sahil told me how to do this, Shift Control Plus to get it over here. So now let's kind of mess around with this one first. That's the first one they talked about anyway, so we put this one equals their closing balance right here. Okay, and then we see, well, what's the draw down here? We have the draw from our little minimum and maximum, and then our repayment is going to be the sum of the how much we had to draw in the last period plus the amount of the opening balance, and we multiply that by this period, and we could put a flag maybe equal to this period. So I would rather you put a flag here, but it's, whatever. If you're a little lazy, you don't do it. Plus this, minus this. So we have to repay the whole thing. Okay. And so I press Shift Control R again. Okay, Shift Control Right, arrow Control R. Now, when we do this, here's what I'm a little bit worried about, and I'm sure this is going to take a little bit of kind of work. Maybe that's what I should have been doing all along, huh? Why did that? Oh no, they got this stupid thing where we have to. Oh no, I'm just gonna press Shift Control 1 and okay. I like the other way better, but we're gonna fix this at the end anyway. So this is our balance. We're accumulating the balance, and then we're getting up to the end here, and that's our repayment. So the problem is that uh, uh, let me see. Let's just talk about this. So now we kind of have a cash flow. We've funded the cash flow, and then we have our. I'm just trying to think. Should we put a cash balance in here? Let's put the repayment in here. And you know what we could do? Let's stick the repayment right up here. Okay, and let's put less the repayment of the CFL. I hope we don't have a circular reference. I'm afraid of a circular reference. If this causes a circular reference, we're going to try something else. So far, so good. Look at I could hardly press it, but oh, I haven't added that. So we put a minus on how much we have to pay for that. Yes, shit. So let's not do it that way. Okay. This, I'm sorry. Oh no. Okay. Let's just take this out of this. And I'm almost to the stage where I'm going to have to stop the video, but I think that would be kind of unfair. So instead of doing this, let's put the repayment of the CFL here, and let's see it. Let's try something else. Okay. And then let's put, and I'm sorry if you give me a dislike and if you say I'm an idiot because I don't know how to do anything. That's true. I'm depressed. And we can take this cash balance, we'll add the draws minus the repayments. And I hope when we do that, we don't get a circular reference. So we have this cash balance. It goes to zero when we're making the draw, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. And uh, 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 y, just a minute, we start with 500. Is that, and then is that true? That there's something, of course, wrong here. What the heck did I do? This draw is way too much, and our commitment would have to be really big because that's 6 billion. Okay, come on, come on, come on. Oh, this is. Oh no, this draws is not the. This is the cash flow. We've got this is an error. Sorry about that. This is a cash flow. So let's just see. I took the negative, and what we have to do is if it's negative in this case, oh come on. What we need to do is we need to take the God, this is really, I should have thought through this, but maybe I hope I'm making it real because this is the funding need. We have a negative balance, and in this case, the funding need is the negative balance. But then our what we should do here is put our cash balance after draws. After. Now, I'm sure this is going to be wrong too. This is kind of the thing I was talking about. We put this plus this, okay? And I'm totally worried about a circular reference. Notice there. And then now, when we do this, the opening balance, I'm going to make the opening balance instead of this closing balance, I'm going to make it this cash balance after the draws. Okay, and this amount we have to borrow now is more reasonable, and then we get we get a positive cash balance, and we don't have to borrow anything here. And then we have to repay this this loan, and we started with a cash balance, and uh, 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 we hang on. This should have been this, and this should have been. We got a positive cash balance. Oh, we take it away. That's okay, and then we get a closing balance. I think we're close. And I'm sorry, I don't usually do this in a video. I don't usually leave it on like this. I usually pause it when I make my mistakes, but I want to really in these horrible cases, can you imagine this as it's really hard for me to imagine this kind of a case. It really is. And now we have this didn't work, so we'd have to do some goal seeks. We'd have to issue more bonds or issue issue more debt, and we'd have to play around with it. Now the other thing we need to do is we need to then put the commitment for our loan. So we for now, and I'm going to kind of cheat on this one because there's no way to get around a circular reference. If we put the maximum amount of the outstanding closing balance on this loan. Okay, did I? Now I'm afraid that I was speaking too soon. I'm so afraid of this. Oh, you know, uh, 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 because I haven't checked it really enough. And what happens here? We'd have to lay this out a little bit better. Let's just review what we've done so far. So we haven't put the IDC in. Don't worry, my heart's racing, by the way. We put our opening balance in. We put our grants in. We got a closing balance. I'm going to put a closing balance kind of subtotal. No, just a minute, just a minute. What did we do? And then we put our availability here, and we put our and this one, I don't, this is idiotic. I didn't want this one. Is this gonna, oh shoot. I should have saved the file before I did that, by the way. This repayments we can kind of skip. This is the final cash balance after the draws, and there's a mistake here because this cash balance, if we did it really right, we would put the repayments. Uh, uh, we would subtract the repayments. Now I'm terrified if I subtract the repayments on the CFL. Do we get? We don't get a circular reference. Okay. Again, I'm really sorry about this. Well, I guess I'm I, not sorry about it completely because you can turn off the video. So on this final cash balance, we can put another minus. And if you're saying, oh my God, my head's spinning, what are you doing? That's, I'm sorry about this. I'm trying to demonstrate what you might do. And so now this, I went too fast. You know, Napoleon, he said, I repeat it too much. So if you've listened to me before, his wonderful saying to his dresser, I don't know what I think about Napoleon, but I love French people. So we're going to take the maximum of this closing balance, okay? And we're going to have to then, what I'm suggesting here is almost kind of do a little bit of a copy and paste because it's almost like a circular reference by hand. If we put a different commitment, we're going to get a different uh, 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 commitment fee, and then the funding needs will change. So there is a circular reference. These idiots put a circular. I think it's a natural circular reference. I don't think that's one we can kind of really get around easily. And if anybody's ever heard of me talking about this business of the UDF method and all this, writing a program for this would be a pain. Okay, so before we do this, so what we're going to do is we're going to fill in all this, and the only thing we can't really do, I think, right now to get our circular reference is to do this, and we'll have to do a very simple copy paste. It's unbelievable that this is like this. So this is our CLF facility. So our interest cost here, be careful, it's this plus this, but don't forget we have 12 periods per year. So, probably the best thing to do would be to put in an interest rate and put this as a percent, and we'll move this up, and we'll take this F4 divided by F4. It's really kind of this case now is really freaking me out a little bit. I guess you're all very much better than me because you could get this. Oh my God. And then, so our interest costs, they explicitly said take the interest cost and multiply it by the opening balance. Okay. How am I doing, by the way? It's almost an hour. See, if I would have turned off the video while I was struggling, it would have taken a little bit less time, and that's what I would normally do. And if I wouldn't take so long, this stupid formatting, which I'm going to fix at the end anyway, there. And then the IDC on this, if it's during the first pre-COD period, it's IDC. And it's really, of course, I said of course, I shouldn't say of course on this little assignment anywhere. How about we'll at least take uh, EST, okay? And let's, the interest expense, we shouldn't have anything after the COD. So this whole business is ridiculous, and let's delete that, okay? And then those those nice people said, well, we'll put a commitment fee. Now for this commitment, I have 730,000. I'm going to put 738. Now that's not going to be right. It's not going to be right, but we'll put our commitment amount in, and then we'll put our commitment fee, upfront fee, and then we almost have to cheat, but this is, we almost need a financial close flag. I'm going to put, I think, right here, which is kind of silly, but you know, you you kind of need this in just about any uh, 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 you're gonna you're gonna have so many times, and otherwise the thing not to do, which is again an Excel crime, would be to just stick it in the first period and then kind of manually put it later. And let's multiply that by 1. Okay, that's kind of a silly little flag, but it might help because then we can take our total commitment and press F4, multiply it by our commitment fee, F4, multiply it by our flag. And I'm really nervous because I'm just thinking, well, I'm nervous because I can't even do the formatting right. Okay, and Shift Control R. Okay, and then then when we have our undrawn balance, what we do is let's take that same commitment. Let's put F4 there. And so what you do is you take you lock this in, and then you take away the opening balance. And they even told you to do that. Okay. Oops. Oh, shit. Okay. Why did this give me a different number? Oh, this was the commitment fee. Fine. Idiot. Okay. Shift Control R. Okay. That's our undrawn balance. And oops, it would eventually go to 0, but then it kind of goes up again. So if we do it a little better, I think we should take this minus that and multiply it by our little availability flag. I hope I still have that up here. And you know, this would not be good form. Yes, it would be. I can see it. I can see it. If I press F2 here, I can see it. It's not so bad. Okay, so and then we talked about making our commitment fee monthly, and then we multiply those things together. Okay, and then, you know, we should, of course, put some sums here. Okay, we should put the sum of the IDC here. And I hope I'm not going to get a circular reference. Okay, I'm kind of going slowly because I want to make sure we're okay. And I think I should title this a little more of an advanced case. Okay, but it's a real one. Okay, and we're just about finished. Okay, now what we have to do, let's just do it with this one. For the IDC, we're going to put IDC on the bond and the get some words on the bond and the CFL. Okay, so we have IDC on this one. Upfront fees, I said, we'll put it on the bond differently. And I said, put the upfront fees on the CFL up here. Whatever, is that CFL what they caused it? They might have called it something else. Okay, and you notice that on these ones, you leave a placeholder, at least that's what I do. You leave a placeholder and then you go downstairs, and normally this is what causes the circular reference. But we kind of don't have it yet. Okay, and then we if you want, we can then sum this stuff up here and sum them all. Okay. And then we can go up here and put our IDC in. And I'm just hoping no circular reference. Phew. And then go down here, upfront fees. I'm afraid to press it. No circular reference. And that's because we kind of put all the numbers in as pure numbers. Okay. It's kind of interesting to really think about where these circular references come from and how to resolve them, don't you think? Uh, and I'm going to put, let's put a little uh, uh, underline here, perhaps, and let's put a space here, okay? And then let's go to the bond issue. Now, in the bond issue, the big deal is that we're going to have I think it's probably a good idea to press Alt WFF, insert about 2 more lines, and put the bond repayment period. We have to be really careful, and it's really a pain to do this. And because a flag, this is going to be a flag, and we put in the months of the bond repayment, and it's all okay. That's pretty easy. Uh, 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 we put in the months of the repayment period, okay. But then we don't have a repayment in this, and we could multiply that by the concession period. But we have this one problem that we don't put it in the very first period. So what I might do is first put equal or, and you can put month like this, and the month here is equal to this one, F4, comma, month of this one equal this one, F4, okay, and we can multiply that one, bien sûr, genau, by this one, and then we have our ones and zeros, but we don't have a repayment before we hit the COD. So, and we want to multiply, if we multiply this one by, let's go to our COD period. Where does that change? It changes over here. We don't want this one. And so if we multiply by this one, it doesn't work. But if we multiply by the prior one, it kind of is a little trick. So this is always a pain. And so instead of multiplying it by 1, I'm going to multiply it by the previous period. Okay, and maybe you have a much better way to do that. Okay, I struggle with this one. And did I do it wrong? Because how many periods are we supposed to have? We have a final repayment date, so we need not only that. Maybe I shouldn't have cluttered up my initial flags with this. So I'm gonna not clutter this up. I'm gonna move this down to the bond issue. And you know, a lot of people would say, "Aha, don't do that. You need to have a timing sheet. You need to have a full timing sheet. You need to have a separate page with a timing sheet." And I say, you are, stop it, making things so much needlessly complicated. Okay, and then we put this down here, and we get the, now before we do this, we should put the bond repayment period. And now I'm just going to do it a little bit differently, because I'm going to say that the first repayment doesn't occur. I hope that, does that repayment occur? So I already kind of thought about this a lot. Little that occurs after the 1 month, uh, 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 6 months after the first repayment. So we don't have this whole business. And then we put the end repayment down here. And when you do that carefully, and then you put and if you were better than me, you would have already had this. This is greater than or equal to the first repayment. And then you talk to yourself and you put this is less than or equal to, I think, the last repayment. I think, and then you put your multiply by 1 so you can sum it. Whoops. Now that sum, don't worry about that sum. We got a whole bunch of those. And then on this one, you took this one, and instead of multiplying it by this one, you multiply it by this one. And I did it wrong. And this should have been less than. Ooh, I think this should have been less than. I hope. Did I do this right? Let's just see. I've got 18 periods, but we got to be really, really careful. Okay, and you start, you have no repayment right at the COD, and then you have your first repayment. I hope that's 6 months. And then the next repayment is 6 months later, and then the next repayment is 6 months later, and you go on and until you hit the total repayment. And I hope I'm just gonna not even check it right now. And then you put a bond repayment period. How about period number? And you put a counter. Let's call this a counter. And then you just, this one, you often have to do things like this. You go backwards and go upstairs. Okay. If you're really, you have and then we're counting. And the reason we need that counter is then finally, on our repayment, we can put equal lookup. And I'm going to do it the way I do it. I'm sorry. You can start yelling at me and you can say, oh, these people might take off for this because I'm using the whole thing like this. And I don't care here either. I'm going to put a 0 up here. And then I've got this. And if they say this slows you down or makes the Excel heavy, they are full of crap. And I just made a video about that. Okay, for me, it was, whoops, and then we copy that, Control R, we copy that across. Uh-oh, uh-oh, we put our balance in, and, oh, well, of course, this repayment, then we have to multiply this repayment. It's a little bit of a long formula, but not excessive. You know, if you think of the lookup as not too long, and then you put this repayment date here, and then, oh, this is a thing of beauty. It just repays right at the date. So I'm shocked that they would have you do this. I'm really kind of shocked that somebody who gives you one of these exams would want you to get into this kind of detail, and perhaps they don't really, or perhaps they're really not expecting that much. Who knows? But that's kind of a painful little thing to do. Okay. And what I hope they do is they freak you up. They freak you out enough to say, I got to take a course from this idiot. Well, they won't. You won't do that. And then we put our interest rate in. Okay, and that's a percent. And we put our base rate plus our credit spread in. And we take that one and divide it by 2. Okay, and you know what I'm going to do? I'm not going to answer these questions in this one. Okay, let's just press F4. All of those advanced question, compute the DSCR and compute the bond life and all that. I'm going to do that one. I'm going to make a part three. Okay, I have to make a part three. Wasn't expecting to, but those may be interesting to some people. And then we put our interest cost as the interest rate multiplied by the opening balance. Okay, and uh, uh, we put that. Now my friend Mike, he he had a worst interview from hell. Oh my God, they gave him some kind of some kind of wacko uh, puzzle thing. Shit, I could never do that. Obviously, I'm too dumb for that. Okay, so then we put this as uh, 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 the amount, and if you're still with me, you deserve a prize. I should give you a prize, but I can't afford really big prizes. I don't know what I'll give you a prize. I'll give you a get out of jail card from uh, the if you ever get put in this Belarus jail, I'll make sure I can get you out of that jail. Okay, so we copy this. Uh, I'll talk to Stormy. Uh, okay, and then, what did I do? Oh my God. Oh my God. Did I copy those values? Okay. The format I finally got right. Let's multiply that by the operating concession period. Okay. So we're doing with the IDC is splitting it up, and then we have our interest expense going down. But remember, this is a semi-annual interest expense, and I completely did this wrong. Uh, 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 ah, we can accrue the interest, or we can pay the interest on the balance. I'm going to have to put interest rate. Oh God, I screwed that one up too, didn't I? Well, I was just talking too much. Interest rate pre COD. So I don't really know how you would do this. Then you could take this interest rate and divide it by 12, or let's divide it by this stupid thing down here. Okay. That was a crime. That was a total crime because we took something from another sheet, but I'm going to leave that crime in. Hopefully it won't be too much time for me in jail. Okay, because I hate this when you look at this and then you have to go to if you take something from another sheet, it shouldn't be in here. And I'm mad at myself for doing that, but I'm going to leave it. And then we'll put the interest rate post COD. And then what we need to do is let's do that a little bit more elegant. Post COD interest period, something like that, and that's going to be 6. And we'll take our same interest rate. Look at them. I'm really nervous now. And I hope that if they just give you an hour to do this, then okay, screw them. And then we'll take this. So all I'm going to do now is for the interest rate post COD, we'll take this F4 and divide it by this one. Okay, so and then I'm going to maybe multiply this by the post COD period, and let's God, if you don't have a shortcut key to do this, what a waste of time. Okay, so then how about I'm going to redo some of this. Let's put total interest rate, and you can see that I normally wouldn't follow those instructions. You can see, I hope you can see why you, and did I multiply this one by the pre-COD period? So I really screwed up on that one after I got nervous. Okay, and then we can take the opening balance times if it's the monthly period. I'm assuming we pay this monthly. They didn't really say. Did they say during the pre-COD, did you pay it? Senior bonds will pay semi-annual interest, right? Construction will be interest only. So I kind of got that wrong. After all that, I still got it wrong. We'll just, oh my God. The only good news is we'll, oh God, we'll delete that one. Just a minute. And then this one, do we have a bond repayment period? We have this, and that starts there. And now I think we need a bond interest payment. Bond interest period. And that one we'll put as a flag again. And I'm gonna hopefully do this one okay. And then if you're looking at this, maybe they'd even take points away because I didn't do this whole business of putting the dollar sign on this one and taking the dollar sign off that one, and you always press F4 two times, all you fast Excel people, and I guess I can do this one even too, but okay. And if I just copy this to this one, I hope, and take the little flag away and multiply it by 1, uh, then we'll see that, okay, we got a 6-month period, a 6-month period, a 6-month period, blah, blah, blah. Uh-oh, yeah. It's a 6-month period, is it? Hopefully, yeah. And so don't worry about our little refs. We put the 6-month interest rate times our opening balance, and we get our this, and the interest cost we multiply by the interest period. It's unbelievable to me that they would expect you to do all of this stuff. But okay, and they expect you to be all kind of proficient with the flags and all that. So the interest is semi-annual, and this interest expense hopefully begins here after the. Oof, this is wrong. We need we need we need to move both of these up by 1 because you're not going to pay interest, and the repayment is going to be 1 period earlier, I think. So, oh God. So on our bond months, this is the month equal month of E-date. This one, I hope that's going to work. And this is the month of E-date. Is that 5? So we have 3 and 9. And then we're paying this off, I hope, every 6-month period. Now I was so full of shit because this is not pleasant anymore. This is really, really not pleasant anymore. And now we can put our total bond. I have to start cheating. Oh my God. can put our total bond financing here and put this. Oh, good. You know, let's do it like this because we have at least we have a financial close flag. So we put our bond financing and okay. I just messed up on the thing. Okay. All right. Now, so we'll put our upfront fee as F4 times F4 times the where is our come on, get some words out. Where's our financial close flag? There. Okay, a little bit too high. Okay, and then now, whew. Okay, so what we could do now is let's put all the rest of our IDC in. Maybe I'm going to put IDC for the C. What did we call it? CLF. Okay, and then we'll put the IDC. I don't care for the bond. The bond. Okay, and let's go downstairs and find our bond interest during construction. This was a little bit different. Okay, we had it going up and down just every 6 months. And then let's put our upfront fees. Remember, we don't have a commitment fee for the bond because it all gets issued at a single time. And this is going on very, very long, I know. Okay, and now we're down by. We got to do something to get this closing balance up. When we get this closing balance up, we're going to get a different commitment fee. And when we get our different commitment fee, we're going to get a different amount. And we can either make a messy a macro or kind of do it by hand, and we'll kind of do both. Okay, but we better put our total IDC now is did I put a sum of the IDC here? I didn't put this. Oh, I'm getting sick from this. So we put our IDC as this IDC up here plus the IDC on the bond. Okay, and then now if you notice, this funding needs does not equal to this, and that's because we have some difference, and we could even put the CLF at the financial close date, I suppose, but I don't want to do that. We paid it off, and we have this balance. So let's do this. Let's be a tiny little bit elegant. Let's not do the whole thing by hand. Let's find out how much. This is the COD date, and let's put the balance at the COD date. Okay, and for this, let's put our COD date in again. Now, I have no. Maybe I should look for a job at this place, because I make no money. They better pay you a lot if you can do all this stuff. Did I put this? I did it, of course, wrong. This is the closing balance, and this commitment business and all this, we should, let's put that all down here. So can I do it like this? Okay. Uh, where to balance at the C date? Look up. So this is kind of our subtotal. And, rarely do I need to do this subtotals, but this time I think we needed to do it. Okay, and that was the biggest trick, really, out of all this other stuff with all the flags and all the bullshit. But that was tricky, and I don't even know how to explain it. We put a lookup, and we click on the beginning of the period, and then we put this balance after the draws. Now, if you, I got to repeat myself, if you think you're going to fail an interview unless you get all of this, that's really not correct. Now, what we could do is, let's just try this. Let's make a goal seek. Let's just make a goal seek and do a little bit of what if analysis. If we make a goal seek and we set this balance at COD to be equal to 0 by changing the inputs on where's the input on the bond? I think the bond financing. Okay, that's okay. That works. And so now we have everything correct. Okay, and now our CLF commitment went to this. And now if I copy this and uh, paste special as values, okay, what happens is this changed. You see that? That changed. So we have a little bit of a circular reference. And what we could do is to put the down here, let's put fixed commitment. Now, if they really, this is way overboard. Let's copy, let's copy and paste special as values here. And if I do that, then when I go down to this one, I won't have a problem. Okay, but now we still have a difference. That's our classic copy and paste. And then I put difference and put a CAD. And this is why people like copy and paste so much better than my method, because to program this whole thing would take me a day. Okay, uh, uh, not saying it can't be done. And we this is the difference, and this is the fixed, and this is the computed. So, and we make a little range name around this thing. Shift Control F3. Whoops. Shift Control Function F3 for me. No top column. And the other thing we want to do is, now this balance at COD didn't get to be 0. So I'm going to move this date up here and put balance. This, we want to get this to be 0 by changing the bond amount. So right now, I'm going to make the bond amount here and put that as COD, okay, and what did we say the bond amount right now? It was 387, 173. Now, they might, and they would be right if they did this, they might say, okay, put a little extra buffer in all this stuff and don't do it all automatic like this, because there'll be things that go wrong, and there's no way you'll have no contingency and all that kind of business. But we'll show you how to do it. So now when we do this, we're going to make a goal seek, set this to be 0 by changing this one, and when we put the bond in, we're going to make that equal to the fixed amount too. And then we're going to do a copy and paste, and copy from the computed to the fixed. And then we're going to go around and around until that difference is equal to 0. And then we're going to have to do it again and again. So to do that, if they really expect you to do this, it's just, for me, remarkable. I'll just leave it, call it macro 1. Who cares? And so the first thing is we do a goal seek, which is data, and what if analysis and goal seek, and we set that difference to 0 by changing the bond amount. That's the first thing we did. And then the next thing we did, and the next thing we did is we took the computed and copied the computed paste special to the fixed, and then stop the macro. And then we look at the macro, okay, and we say, okay, get rid of this copy paste stuff. And we remember, maybe can you make this a little smaller? How does this work? Does this one? Yeah. Okay. Let's just push this up a little bit. Okay. And we up here we say, okay, I need to push this a little bit. I can't do that. And it's too bad you can't keep that window open. We say, okay, that we'll call this, set this balance to 0 by changing the bond. And then once we've done that, it says, okay, copy and paste special this fixed to thing. But instead of doing all this crap, what you can do is say range fixed dot value equals range computed. I'm kind of sad that my UDF that I'm really working on so hard, and that's kind of my goal in life, is to get that done. It would be, I'd have to do a little work to make that work in this situation, and then we'll put do while range difference, and then I'm saying it right now, and I better not forget it. Before you run this macro, save the file, okay? And you put a little loop there, and you could put a protection, and you could put, well, absolute is a little bit less than 1, and it's going to go through the goal seek, copy paste, go through the goal seek, copy paste. But let's be aggressive. Let's save this file, and then let's make a little developer. And the person who did this must be worse than me in terms of being a sadist person, okay? And well, and then we do this, and now we've solved it. It wasn't that hard to make a little copy and paste. And then once we make the copy and paste, let's go upstairs and get our EBITDA. I'm so happy we're almost finished, aren't you? And then after we get the EBITDA, we'll say EBITDA equals CFADS. Okay, and then we take away the interest we have on the interest expense on our bonds, and then we take our interest, the repayment we have. Whoops, did I not do this right here? Then we take the repayment we have on our bonds up here, and then we have the net cash flow, which is our CFADS minus our bond interest. And it looks all so simple, doesn't it? Oh my God. And then unfortunately, we normally would be finished here, but we don't, we have a monthly model. So what we have to do, let's see what happened. We had we have a negative net cash flow, but why from the beginning? Uh-oh, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh no. Oh shoot. Hang on. The repayment. I screwed up the repayment period. That shouldn't. We shouldn't have put a zero on that repayment period. That's very, very sad that I messed up that one. I really want to turn the video off. Bond repayment period. But I promised you I wouldn't. We've got 18. Hang on. Let me undo it. Control Y. Let's look right at the end of this availability. Day one. We've got the repayments, and what happened here? We don't have this as a repayment period. And okay, how about if I put I put greater than or equal to 1 October of 24. Yeah, I've got it. I've got to pause. Sorry about that. Okay, I just cheated. I made this first repayment period one month earlier. Okay, and we go to the cash flow, and we get our first one 6 months out. Uh-oh, we have a negative amount. 6 months out, negative amount. And so what we do is we put an opening cash balance equal to a closing balance, and then we say, okay, we'll put in this one the I I think we just put the cash flow in here, and then if it's a bond repayment period, we take the remainder, which is the net cash flow, this plus this, and we multiply it by that bond repayment period. Okay, hopefully, and then we'll get the closing balance plus this minus that. So we just kind of make a little account, and uh-oh. Okay, and then let's just see what happens. So our cash is going up, 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 and then we have this one. We take away the negative cash, and that leaves us this much for the dividends. And then we start with zero cash, we get it up here, and then something happened with our opening balance. Our opening balance equal our closing balance, and why is our closing balance equal we just pay her. I put the wrong flag in. We only pay her when I did it too fast again. This is you only pay in these periods. Okay. All right. And this is going on and on. This video is so long. And now finally, equity, cash, flow. Okay. And I'll put a minus on the amount from the sources and uses statement. You know, I'm not putting anything in for the, and then dividends, well, let's just add the dividends, plus the amount she gets up here, okay, and so it gets nothing, 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 there we go. And then we have to put a little epsilon here. If I'm not gonna, we could put it down here on the bottom, put epsilon, but screw that. Minus 0.0001, and then we put the equity IRR. And if that's completely wrong, I'm not gonna, I gotta take a rest. I'm tired. I'm not young enough like you people. Okay, and then and oh, good, we got 5.7. We got a little bit higher than that return. It's not a great return, but whatever. That's all we get. I don't think it's implausible given the interest rate and everything else. And then let's put the DSCR. Now, they kind of asked to do some sculpting and all that stuff, but I'm just going to, for now, take that. Let's go and get the debt service. And that's just in the cash flow statement. You notice we don't need any balance sheet or any income statement if we don't have taxes. So you can try to put those in yourself, but I'm so sick of this. I'm never going to open it again, I hope. CFADS. Let's put that in just to kind of make it a little clean, and go up here. And then we'll put the, ooh, oh God, we should accumulate the CFADS. Oh, screw it. I almost want to just, we'd have to accumulate it. Oh, I guess. Okay. Accumulated S. Do we have this in our opening balance? If we just kept, we didn't pay any debt service, so actually we have that in that opening balance, okay, and so then we can just put DSCR in repayment period. Okay, so we'll just put the, how about if it's the repayment period, and let me try to not get that wrong this time. Oh, suddenly I have 19 periods. Oh shit. Okay, and that means our repayment might not be exactly right. So I'm gonna pause the video, but right now I'm gonna take it. If it's the repayment period, then we take this divided by that, and we just leave, this time I would just leave it to be false. Okay, so then we, oh, there we go. And of course I did it backwards. Oh, shoot. Okay, I thought I was doing CFADS divided by debt service. And I haven't been drinking. I should be. Okay. There's our DSCR. It's not bad, is it? Okay. And I probably made about a zillion mistakes here. and it was so much harder than I expected. I would have never done it. And I'm going to pause the video just to finish this. Okay, all I did was I cheated and changed the final repayment date. And of course, I'm putting this file on the website. Now, can you do this? Can you, if they give you this, go get the generic macros, okay? And initialize them. And then, on the first one, just press Control-Alt-C. Don't put a title in there. You don't have to mark the links from another sheet necessarily. The rest of them I put in column B. And then we get kind of the same thing. On the financial model, do the same thing, but this time we have about 7 lines on the top. And this will be more important. And then you can get it to look a little better. And on all of these things, you can press Shift Control D. That's what I was trying to do. No, you can't, because I'm on the stupid, I'll leave that, because I'm on the damn video. Okay, and then if you want to get a little fancier, you press F11, Shift function F11, contents, Control-Alt-C, just put a little contents thing in, and make a picture of Elvis or your company, whoever you want to do, and maybe put their own logo in, and put a disclaimer in, and then you gotta, excuse me, a fancy little, a little mall, okay? And then that you can see. I think Hetty told me to make sure and get these flags colored. I think that's a big deal. I don't think it really costs you all that much in terms of the in terms of the making the Excel heavy or anything like that. And that's an unbelievable test. I'm exhausted and I'm stopping the video.